Hey everyone, this is Jeff Boots with Boots Flipped. I want to make a short video on how the code book is laid out. So let's get started. First of all, in Article 90, that article is the first one in the code book. And what it does is it lets us know the purpose of the code. It also talks about the AHJ, or the authority having jurisdiction, which would be, for most of us, the inspector, and kind of lets us know what he can do and what his rights are. It also tells us what's covered, and it also tells us what's not covered. In Chapter 1, that's a great chapter to find Article 100, or definitions. We need to understand what some of those words are in the code. We'll also have Article 110, and that gives us requirements for electrical installations. And we'll use that for all kinds of things when you're designing your system for a residence. It's a great article to know and to understand. Now let's get into Chapter 2. Chapter 2 is wiring. It's like whining, don't it? Wiring and protection. This article is where we're going to find Article 210. That helps us do branch circuits layouts. We're going to get into 220, and that is going to be where we'll do some calculations for branch circuits and feeders. For me, that's a fun one because I like math. If you don't like math, it may not be as fun for you, but I really enjoy that article myself. Let's move into Chapter 3. Chapter 3 is wiring methods. What's good in Chapter 3 is we're going to have Article 300, which gives us some general requirements, and then we'll get into 310. Article 310 will have our table for ampacity. And that we're going to find, generally we'll use Article 310, 15, B16. I guess table. 310, 15, B16. And that'll be a great article for us to use when you're looking up, I have a number 12 wire. How many amps is it good for? That's the table that you're going to use for that particular question. Now, if we get into Chapter 4, Chapter 4 is equipment for general use. And when we look at the equipment for general use, we're going to look up in there, we're going to look up motors. And that's going to be Article 430. And you'll also use this one for transformers. And that'll be Article 450. Also, like I said, another great article for us to reference. Chapter 5, that is going to be special occupancies. In special occupancies, you're going to find classified, hazardous locations. If you're working anywhere where, chemicals are stored, gasoline, anything that is flammable, that's where you're going to find those kind of locations. And there's a lot of different rules and codes you're going to have to follow in a situation like that. You're also going to find codes for like movie theaters, churches, and other things, or other different types of occupancies that wouldn't be covered under the normal buildings inside of the first 4 chapters. When we get into Article 6, or Chapter 6, I should say, Chapter 6 is special equipment. We're going to find pools, hydro, massage, tubs. You're going to find hot tubs, center pivot, irrigation. Chapter 7 is going to get us into special conditions. And under special conditions, one of the ones that you'll find in here is fire alarm. So if you're working in a fire alarm installation, if you're not doing a residential, anyway, you'll find fire alarm inside of there. Chapter 8, communication systems. If you do any communication work, you'll find several codes in here that are just for you. And a lot of people don't think that those are covered in the code, but they are. So that you'd find that in Chapter 8. Chapter 9 is going to be our tables. You're going to find conduit, cross-section information. You're going to find wire properties in there, which is going to be important when you're doing like voltage drop calculations, conduit fill calculations. This would be the chapter that you would go to. Annex C. Any of the annexes are just informational only, but Annex C is the one that you're going to use all the time, and that's conduit fill. That's going to tell you how many number 14s can go inside of a 3-inch EMT conduit. Conduit fill. That's Annex C is a great one that you will use constantly as you get up in the trade and you're starting to do a little more designing on the fly. So let's look at an overview of all these chapters. Chapter 1, 2, 3, and 4. So the general articles, the wiring protection, wiring methods, equipments for general use, those apply to every electrical installation. Chapters 5, 6, and 7, which are special occupancies, special equipment, and special conditions, those supplement or modify anything in chapters 1 through 4. Chapter 8, which is communication systems. Chapters 1 through 7 only apply in Chapter 8 if they're referenced. Inside of Chapter 9, with our tables, they are applicable as referenced. And then once again, the annexes, A through J, which I said C would be the one that you're going to use the most, is informational only. So it does follow the code, but it is not enforceable what's inside of that information. Well, that's all I have. I just wanted to put this short video together for you just so you had something to kind of go over how the code was laid out. And as always, be safe.